Right. This is the 51st episode of the Runnin My Mouth podcast. I am your... I don't have anything today. That's crazy. Huh. It's rare that I don't have something to describe myself. I am your host, just your host for now, Erin. And allow me to run my mouth for a little bit. So, I did this thing these past couple of weeks where I've just been writing stuff down as it comes to me on the trusty topics pad. And I have a lot of topics today. You can't really tell, but the list is kind of long. So this might be a longer episode, and that might be okay. I'm very loud in my ear. I'm gonna turn the input volume down a little bit. Hopefully that does something. So yes, lots to talk about today, so let's just jump into it. But before we do, I don't know how I managed to forget this yesterday, but the day that I'm recording this, it's July 27th, Sunday, July 27th. Yesterday, July 26th, was 4 years, officially, of me living here in Jackson. I moved here July 26th, 2021. Yeah. Which is kind of crazy to think about, because number one, the passage of time, like, whoa. And number two, I sort of told myself when I first moved here, I was going to give Jackson, 2 good years. And then after 2 years, I was going to be like, okay, let's reframe. What else are we doing? Because to be completely honest, Jackson was not the plan. I don't think, in fact, I feel like I've heard someone say this to me before, but I feel like, Jackson isn't most people's plan, which is low-key kind of shady, but also true. I think that is true. If you're not from Jackson or from Mississippi as a whole, Jackson usually is not a destination for you. Unless you have some, I don't know, deep familial connections, or you really just want to live in a mid-sized city in the South. So yeah, that's that. I don't really have any big feelings about it. I mean, I sort of do, but also kind of not really. And I don't want to make this episode longer than it's already going to be. I'll move the mic closer to me this way. So yeah, that's kind of that on that. 4 years, goodness. And in December, it'll be 5 years since I graduated college. So your girl's getting old. I'm turning 26 in just a little over a month, which is crazy to think about. But we're not going to do that on this episode. We're going to get into my topics. So like I said, I have a whole long list. Let's start, of course, with the music. I'm going to pull up my calendar just so I can see chronologically. Okay, so I guess we can just start with the Gideon show. The Gideon show. Oh my gosh, it's been... Okay, it's only literally been a week, so I haven't forgotten anything. I did forget a lot last episode. This episode, I'm here, no naps today. You know, I had my coffee around noon, which is a little late for me, so I feel like I'm nice and spry. I hopefully won't forget anything, but the Gideon show, that was definitely a lot of fun. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I usually when I go to shows, I'm like, okay, you know, it says doors open this time. Usually the music's not going to start until maybe an hour and a half after doors, unless the poster specifies. And even if it does specify that music starts 30 minutes after doors, it's still probably going to be 45 minutes. Not for the show. Everything was on time, and I was late. And there was almost no parking. It was packed. I would say here locally, probably the most packed show that I've been to. I'm trying to remember, especially at Howlin' Mouths, that legit probably was, well, I don't know, the I Hate God show is pretty packed, but I feel like I didn't have any difficulties getting to the front in the show either, but I would say it was a lot more people, maybe not a lot more, but definitely more people than I Hate God. The room was full. The red room was full. It was kind of crazy. And like I had thought, people definitely did come out of town. Jordan and Crypt Eater made this comment during their set, but, you know, there's a lot of new faces there, and hopefully they know that most live music in Jackson doesn't cost $30, which, by the way, $30 for 4 bands, especially, like, 2 bands as big as Gideon and Unity, Texas, I feel like that's a good deal. Like, I have paid a lot more going out of town for, like, a show. I got pre-sale for this, so I want to say I spent maybe, like, $22, not including, taxes and fees and all of that, or maybe including taxes and fees. I can't remember. I bought my ticket, like, the day it was announced, and that was, like, some months ago, so I can't really remember how much it cost. It was no object to me. I was like, whatever, I'm buying it. But yeah, I want to say, I mean, I didn't pay for this one, but my most expensive concert was probably Death of a Bachelor. So for me and my mom, it might have been, I don't know, Ticketmaster prices. It was like over $100 for the both of us, I'm pretty sure. And then after that, maybe when I went to see Bad Omens, because again, Ticketmaster pricing, the tickets sold out immediately, and I got resale for like $60. That I was not very happy about because they were on sale for like $35, so it's like, anyway. All that to say is I've definitely paid more for a show, so that price honestly wasn't that bad, especially if you're coming from out of town. You know, you don't want to compound things with potentially, trying to find a hotel, which, I mean, I don't really know if there are that many hotels. I mean, especially considering downtown, there used to be the Hilton. I don't know if it's there. Not the Hilton, the Marriott. I don't think it's still there. I think there might be a Hilton or like a Best Western or something, like, in that area. I don't know. I've never really had to look for a hotel here, so I don't really know what's here, especially with the pricing and everything. But either way, tremendous turnout. Almost did not get parking. Got here, maybe not midway, maybe like a little bit after Face Rot had just started. And this night was just like kind of wild. I'm not even gonna lie. So I walk in. First of all, music is already happening, so I'm like, dang it, I missed something. And I really don't like being late, especially to shows, because I don't know, just the FOMO. Like, I've seen Face Rot plenty of times, but that doesn't mean I want to be late to their set, even if they are just the opener, which if you're only listening, I'm doing big air quotes here. I never really understood the not caring about openers thing that some people do, to be completely honest. I feel like I've litigated this already, but we can relitigate it. I feel like, me personally, I want to get my money's worth. I'm paying to see 4 bands. I want to see all 4 of those bands. I want to see every single minute, every single second. I want to hear every single note. Because I paid my hard-earned American dollars to come to the show. I want to experience all of it, okay? Very rarely have I left a show before it was over. Because again, I just want to get my money's worth. But I don't know. Some people are chronically late. Hopefully I'm not turning into that person. I really don't like that quality about people being chronically late. So I don't want to more metamorphose into that person. Either way, I got there late. And because I was there late, I had my camera, I took pictures, and I was like, oh, I gotta put my stuff together. I had to put my flash on my camera. So I get there, I'm walking up, I'm trying to put my flash on my camera, and I go up to the front, and people let me up to the front. When you're short, people let you up to the front. We were holding a camera, people will also let you up to the front, usually. So I got the double whammy going for me, so people just let me up to the front. I'm taking pictures, and I go in my purse to reach for my phone to take a video. And I'm feeling around, and I'm like, where's my phone? I feel my portable charger, which I don't have it with me, but it's a brick. It's basically like 2 of my phone. I feel that. I feel my other phone that I use exclusively to listen to music in my car, but I don't feel my phone, and I'm like, where is my phone? So, like, I'm trying to, focus on the set, focus on taking pictures, but also, where is my phone? And I guess when I was taking my flash, which I have this on my desk, this is pretty chunky. I don't have a super huge purse. I have like a North Face crossbody, and that's like my day-to-day purse. And it holds a decent amount, but it can still be pretty cumbersome if you have, two phones, a portable charger brick, and this flash in there. So it's like, I think what happened is that I took my flash out of my camera, my flash out of my purse, and my phone was like on top of my flash, and therefore it fell out. And I didn't hear or feel it fall out because, I had my earplugs in and it was really loud, so I didn't notice it until like a few minutes later, when I'm, trying to take a video. And I've already kind of spoiled it. My phone is right here. But, I was like, their set eventually ends and I'm like, where is my phone? So I'm like walking the path that I took to go up there to see if my phone is on the floor, thinking, okay, surely it's like smashed way up. There had to have been like 15 people that have stepped on it by now. And I'm like, where's my phone? Where's my phone? And I'm like freaking out. And there's this guy who, shout out to that guy, by the way, didn't get his name, but shout out to him. He was like, oh, I'll call your phone for you. And unfortunately for this situation, I always have my phone on vibrate because there's like never really been a scenario where I've needed to have the ring on my phone, So unless it like lands face up and therefore I'm able to see it light up, there's not really any way I'm going to see it. And him calling me over and over did not really rectify anything. So I'm like, God, what is going on? I'm like, I'm trying to like keep it together, but like, I've never really lost my phone before. Like, I've never really lost really anything before. Like, anything of consequence, The last time I lost something and it was, like, a major deal was I had this flash drive when I was in high school. So keep in mind, this had to have been 9 years ago. This had to have been 9 years ago. I had this flash drive, and I was on the robotics team at the time. And on this flash drive, I had not only a story that I was working on at the time that I was, saving it back and forth from my computer, but I had it on this flash drive because I think I would like write at school or something like that. But I also had the notebook, like all of our documentation for, the construction of our robot for our robotics team. And so I don't know what happened to it, but I just lost it. Like, I could not find it. Like, I looked everywhere, and it was just nowhere to be found. Like, it was gone. I was a little bit more upset about my story being gone because I lost a lot of progress on it, and back then, I took 0 notes about anything that I was writing. It was all up here. It was all in my noodle, like Mozart would say. So that was disappointing. I mean, the notebook was whatever. We just kind of redid it. I don't think it was kind of monumental at the time, so maybe it was like a bit more consequential than I'm remembering it, but that's the last time I lost anything like major. I've not lost anything since then. I have objects, even just sitting in front of me, that I have had for close to 10 years. Like, I have moved in and out of college, through 3 apartments. I still have this freaking iHome speaker that I don't even use as a speaker anymore. I just use it to prop my phone up on my desk. I've had this for, it has to be about 10 years, which, I mean, that's really nothing to me. I've had a clipboard in my possession. It's a green, like, hard plastic clipboard that I've had since literally the 2nd grade. It is sitting at the bottom of my paper box right now because I don't really use it because why would I need a clipboard? I mean, why did I need a clipboard in the 2nd grade? But either way, I've had that, that singular object since I was in the 2nd grade. So close to 20 years ago by now. When was I in the 2nd grade? 2007? 2006, 2007. So very nearly, oh my God, I'm old. Very nearly 20 years now, I've had this one green clipboard. I can tell you exactly where it is. I'm not going to go get up and get it because I don't feel like it, but actually, no, I feel the need to prove this. So I am going to get up and get it. I love a prop on this podcast, but I wanted to prove this point. But here it is, this green clipboard that I've had since 2007. I still have it. I don't lose things. All that to say, I don't lose things, okay? So, me losing something like as major as my phone was kind of like a big deal, but obviously I got it back. It was before Crypt Eater set. The guy came and tapped me on my shoulder, and he was like, "Hey, they found your phone." And I guess, thankfully, people are chill here. Um, Somebody found my phone on the floor and took it up to like the front desk, and they kept it nice and safe for me. And somehow, I mean, listen, I've dropped this thing not that much, really. The case is very busted up. Like, the corners of my phone case have, like, crumbled away. But, I mean, the screen hasn't cracked or anything, so I guess it didn't get trampled on by 15 people. But, I ended up getting it back, thankfully. Because otherwise, oh my goodness, like, whoa. So yeah, I'm just gonna have to be more careful with my belongings. And I got my phone back. But either way, Face Rot opened. I missed a little bit of it. And Hayden, his name is, gave me a little fist bump at the end of their set. I thought that was nice. I'm always astonished when people are nice to me because this is going to sound so corny, but I mean, it's also true. People just were not, like, nice to me up until I went to college. Like, then it was like, oh, people are just, like, nice. And I found it so suspicious, too. When I went to college, everyone was just, like, all smiles and, like, so nice and everything like that. I don't think it's, like, and maybe it is, like, a Christian school thing. I don't know, but I grew up where not only my classmates, but some of my teachers were just, like, cartoonishly mean. And also, you know, some of the people that I was living with were just cartoonishly mean, just, like, all the time. And to go from that environment to an environment where people are more often than not just, like, nice and chill is, it's still surprising to me. I'll just put that out there. I don't know. Anyway. God, I am dragging this out, aren't I? Anyway. Face Rot set. It was good. I like their music. I think they're recording something, actually. I've seen some stuff on Instagram of them in the stew. So I'm excited to see that whenever that comes out. And next was my uncles, which I have gotten permission to call them my uncles. Because, like, I was doing that anyways. But after a while, I was like, is this bit still funny? But it is, thankfully. My uncles in Crypt Eater. Love it. They don't perform very often, but when they do, it is just, yeah, definitely one of my favorite bands in Jackson. If I am allowed to say that, I'm going to say it. They are one of my favorite bands in Jackson. And, oh my God, I almost forgot about this. They're going to be releasing new music in the fall, which is rapidly approaching, and I'm very happy about that, because after The Weight of Hatred, I've been waiting for them to put something new out. So yay. I'm very happy about that, actually. You didn't hear it here first. You heard it first on their Instagram stories the day after that show. I think. Yeah, the day after that show. So, yeah, I will be looking forward to that very much. But their set, as always, fantastic, you know. And then after them was Unity. I don't know if they're like, if they're called Unity Texas, or if they're just Unity, and parentheses, they are from Texas. But Unity Texas, which I've heard of them, I feel like, at some point, maybe mentioned on, like, the metalcore subreddit. So I was sort of familiar with them, but I'd never heard their music before, but they were really good. Oh, another thing about that night was that the AC was just broken. Like, it was just not working. The AC was not working. It was a very sweaty night. It was a exceptionally sweaty night. Like, just so much sweat. The amount of sweat that has never been seen before. And, you know, we're in the middle of July. And something told me, I had a little voice in my head say, ooh, you should bring your fan, because I have a portable fan. Not in here, somewhere else. I have a portable fan. I have one of them is like a desk fan, but the other one is like, a neck fan, but like anyways, I have a portable fan. And I was like, ooh, I should take that with me just in case. And I didn't. I did not take it with me, and I greatly regret it because it was really, really hot to the point of like discomfort. And like just oppressively sweaty. Just so sweaty. Like, oh my God. Maximum sweat, okay? And I feel worse for the people that were like in the middle of the room, just like stacked on top of each other. That couldn't have been pleasant, but yeah, honestly, I think it was hotter in there than it was outside. Like after the sun went down, it was probably cooler outside than it was in that room. Either way, Unity, Texas, they were great. Got some fantastic images from that, which you can see on my Instagram at Jackson Underground if you are interested in that kind of thing. I took and I looked it up, not looked it up, I looked the day after. I took 400 and something pictures that night, which is a lot. And something that I saw somebody do, and I'm definitely going to steal the idea, is they did like a montage of like all the pictures I took on such and such trip. And I think I might start doing that because I take so many pictures during these shows, and I will like post maybe, I don't know, 5 each from each band, like on average. So, if this is a 4-band bill, then like 20 pictures out of 400 and something. And not every picture is a winner. Not every picture is going to be exposed the way I want it to be. Not every picture is going to be in focus, but still, I feel like doing a little montage. I feel like that would be something that I do at the end of the year. Doing a little montage of like every picture from 2025. That would be a lot of pictures though. My SD card is currently in this camera, so I can't like look. I am curious. However, last year, where am I? I put the amount of pictures that I took in my end of the year roundup. Let me see, 5,233 pictures. Over 16 shows, and I don't even think. And that only started in April of last year. So who knows how many pictures I've taken so far this year. We're only halfway through the year. So let's just say, okay, each picture is going to be like, I don't know, if we're doing like 60 frames a second, let's say each picture is, we'll say 3 frames. 60 divided by 3, that'll be 20 pictures per second. So I feel like I'm doing this math wrong. You know what? I'm not even gonna attempt to try to do this because I can already feel this like not going well. Either way, I would like to know how long such a video would be if, out of however many pictures that I take, let's say another 5,000 this year. Anyway, I feel like the thought was born and then it died. I still am interested in doing something like that, though. I feel like that could be cool, especially setting it to, like, some music or something like that. Unity, Texas. Great band. Apparently, that was their, like, first show, like, in the United States in, like, a year or something. And I looked afterwards, and I guess they had done, like, this huge EU tour last year. So, or not huge / very long EU tour last year. So for Jackson to be the first place that they perform, interesting. Love that for them. Love that for us. And they certainly put on a good show. And after that was Gideon. And I feel like, I don't know if we've talked about this before, but sometimes I'm just like so focused on taking pictures when I'm at shows, which is why I don't bring my camera to every show, that I kind of don't really get to really fully experience it. And I feel like that sort of happened during Gideon's set, which is kind of unfortunate because I did really want to just like experience it, but I also wanted to lock in and get good pictures out of it as well, which I feel like I did. So that's unfortunate, but I will say I was leaned up against, I don't know if it's just like a regular speaker, a subwoofer, but like from the knees down, I was just like getting vibrated the whole time, which I not gonna lie, it's strange, but it's not unpleasant, to be your whole body vibrated. Even though in this case it was just from the knee down, just my shins and my calves getting vibrated by this subwoofer, which I feel like got disconnected a few times during their set. Like it just straight up stopped working for like a minute, but then it came back on, so I don't know. Yeah, the entire time, very hot, very sweaty, still very enjoyable, and I am hoping, I don't know like what management company, if any, Gideon is under. I don't know if that falls under like the label. I don't know how any of this works, but whoever is in charge of tour managing for Gideon and maybe also Unity Texas will see, that the Jackson show was so successful and will consider, booking the other bands that they manage, or however that works, at Jackson venues. Because people will show up. That's the thing. People will show up. Jackson is relatively small-ish. I mean, the metro area has like 500,000 people in total. Like the whole metro area. So Jackson and all of its boroughs, that surround it. This is 500,000 people, and there are a decent amount of metalheads that live in this population of 500,000 people. And people are gonna come out of town from outside the metro, probably even outside of the state, to go to these shows. So it's like, I mean, who knows how many people came from Tennessee? Well, actually, I can't remember what the next stop was. So, hold on. Ooh. Slash. I don't know if the next stop was in Tennessee or not. Here it is. No, they're going to Texas after this. So who knows how many people came from Tennessee? Where's Lubbock, Texas? I don't know, I'm not about to look it up. How many people came from, well, I mean, they were coming to Arkansas, like at the end, on the 3rd of August. So maybe not from Arkansas. How many people came from Alabama? How many people came from Louisiana? So, and they didn't have a Louisiana stop here, I don't think. No, they didn't. So, people coming from their surrounding states, who knows, maybe people are even like flying from like a great distance just cause, and that is not only good, and I don't mean to sound, capitalist brained here, but that's not only good for, that particular venue or, the local bands here that have the opportunity to open up, and get to connect with such large bands and maybe, I don't know, learn things from them. But it's good for the city as well, because these people are getting hotel rooms, they're eating at local restaurants, they're spending money here locally that could be used ideally would be used, that would go back into bettering the city, you would hope. So it's like, it's only a good thing that, these bigger bands are coming from out of town. Now, is that, I could, I guess, see the argument which I don't know, maybe it's because I am a transplant. I have been here for, the last 10 years, so I don't know how things have changed for the Jackson scene in the last 10 years. Maybe some could argue that it's like blowing up the spot, making it too hot. I don't get that, to be completely honest. I don't really understand that stance, but if, somebody does have that stance and would like to explain it to me, then put it down in the comments. I will read them, and I might even respond to them. So, if you're listening to this, if you're watching this on YouTube, or I don't know if YouTube Music has comments. I couldn't imagine that it does. Or if you're listening to this on Spotify, which does have a comment section, leave a comment. Tell me what you think. Is this blowing up the spot? Is it making it bad? Or is it good? I don't know. I feel like it's only a good thing. Like, it's a net positive all around. So, anyways, that was a Gideon show. It was a lot of fun. I got some great pictures. It was really hot and I sweated a lot. And then, the very next day after that, I had a show at CS's. It was a dungeon synth show. I think maybe previously I described it as a noise show. It's not quite noise. It is really just dungeon synth. And we had Jenn Taiga from, oh my gosh, Pittsburgh? Maybe? I think. She did tell me, and I maybe remember, but perhaps from Pittsburgh. This is like right smack dab in the middle of her tour. Um, and then we had Filth Eternal, who has like a bunch of projects. His main one is Indole, I believe, from North Mississippi. And then Gravemember, who I can't believe I never asked, but I'm pretty sure he's from Jackson. That was fun. This was kind of my makeup show from December because I was supposed to have, not December, January. I was supposed to have a show in January. Was that January like 5th? No, maybe not. Maybe I didn't put it on my calendar for whatever reason, but it was in January. I'm like 90% sure. Maybe it was in December or February. Maybe it was February. I don't know. That's not important. Either way, earlier this year, I had a noise show that I had booked, and it had got canceled, like, at the very last minute because of, like, bad weather, and I felt really bad about it because, some people that come from a prolonged distance, especially the person, the out-of-towner that I booked to do it, so it was like, but finally, we had one go off without a hitch. And that was a really nice show. I am really into like synth and like noise and stuff like that, but like I don't really, I don't know, engage with it all that much, I guess. But seeing that was a lot of fun. Jenn Taiga is, like I said, dungeon synth. So, okay, picture this. And this is gonna sound, I don't know how accurate this is, but to me, it felt like RuneScape music, but I don't know if that's accurate, and I'll tell you why. So, I played RuneScape a lot, like, a lot when I was in middle school, like, 6th grade up until, gosh, maybe right up until high school. I was on some RuneScape, like, loved it. But the thing about it is that when I got my first computer, that was gross. When I got my first computer, I didn't have headphones. And so I was also, like, for whatever reason, really not wanting other people in the house to know what I was doing. So I would always play games on mute. And that included RuneScape. And RuneScape has, like, this whole soundtrack, and I have not heard any of it. Which is crazy. Like, the entire time that I was playing this game, I was not listening to the music. It was completely on mute. So, like, I have this whole emotional connection to RuneScape, but, like, zero emotional connection to its music, which is kind of crazy to think about. Because imagine if I was playing Minecraft all this time, which I have, again, a very huge emotional connection to Minecraft because I played it a lot when I was a kid, but I never listened to the music. And I have a very big emotional connection to Minecraft's music. So it's like, that's so kind of funny to think about now. But anyways, I imagine RuneScape's music would sound like the music of Jenn Taiga. Honestly, it was just like so. I was watching the door for most of the night, so I didn't really get to see the setup. But it was like a lot of like different keyboards and like the pluggy things. I don't know. I do have good news though. If you want to know more about the setup, Isaac of the Akashic 45s, but also Jacktown Rundowns was there along with Daisy, another community member, and they are doing a rundown of, I believe, Jenn Taiga, Gravemember, as well as Indole / Filth Eternal. Filth Eternal, not Fifth. Filth Eternal. So that's going to be out at some point, and I'm really excited to see that because I am looking forward to that one. I don't understand a lot of musical things, and I certainly don't understand synthesizers, but I'm going to enjoy learning about them, so keep a lookout for that. That's going to be fun. And so I was kind of astonished. There was like a really good turnout for a Monday night show, but not only that, but, a sort of unconventional genre. Like, the people showed up. Like, shout out to the people who came to that show. Like, it was great. The performers were happy. I was happy. Pat was happy because we had it at CS's. So that was all I could have asked for. Like, it was great. Honestly, thinking about it, I said last episode that I think that's probably going to be my last show that I booked for a while. And while I was there, I was like, man, this is kind of like having a baby. And, I have about 0 children, so I don't know if this is equivalent or not, but from what I've heard about people who have had children, the whole labor process, like, sucks. It's terrible. It's life-threatening. But then you're at the end of it, and you have this baby, and then the brain chemicals are making you think, like, oh, I could do this again. And that's kind of how I felt, I was, like, in the process of booking it, which, isn't hard for some people. It is hard for me. I was like, man, this is terrible. Like, I feel like I'm gonna die. And then the day of the show happens, and I have this baby in my hands, which is a show. And I'm like, oh, I can do this again. So, I don't know. But either way, it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. It was great and nice and good. And the burgers were, of course, delicioso. Delicioso. I went to 2 years of Spanish in high school. I know what I'm talking about. Anywho, let us go down the line. So this past Friday, where am I? Okay, this past Friday. Was it Friday? Yes, it was Friday. There was another noise show, 2 in 1 week. The noise and synth enjoyers of Jackson were getting fed this past week. Let me tell you. And this show that I'm about to talk about, just eating. Oh my god, so great. So there was a charity noise show at Urban Foxes featuring, let me see, Raven Weather, Indole, That Which Waits Beyond Sleep, and The Sky Imposed Its Will. Now I know 3 of those, but one of those I was not aware of until like 1 or 2 days beforehand. So it was, I would say it was pretty decently attended for a charity show. Also, somebody actually did bring, I couldn't tell what it was, cat or dog food, but they bought food. So I thought that was great. It was a charity show for the Animal Rescue Fund, and they were accepting cash donations or unopened cat or dog food, and somebody actually brought unopened cat or dog food. So I was like, sick, someone's paying attention. Love that. Also, I didn't put the show on, so it's like I had no dog in this fight. Perhaps not the best metaphor to use, but either way, it was cool to see somebody do that. And so first up for the night was Raven Weather, which is one half of Parrot Weather, which are the twins, Hunter and Heath Walt, doing a kind of experimental rock thing. And it was a lot more effects heavy, very noisy, but not like noisy, but like just it was noise. Kind of darker than what Parrot Weather does, and no lyrics, no singing or anything. So I thought that was really cool. After that, I'm trying to remember the order of the night. No, maybe not. Who was next? I don't know. It doesn't matter. I'll just go from what I remember. Indole, great set, loved it. Different from the one on Monday, but still very good. Also, where is it? I got a tape. I got a Filth Eternal tape. Who was selling them? Here it is. Ooh, tape review. Where? Come on. This isn't in focus. Focus? Okay. Oh, there we go. Focus. What is this called? Oh, I had it upside down. It's called Ruins of Superstition, and this is a Filth Eternal tape. So this is a Dungeon Synth one. He described it to me as dark and gothy, I believe, and it's 2 sides. 1, 2, 3, three tracks on each side. From the looks of it, this looks like a 30-minute tape. I'm pretty sure I can discern the different types, because I feel like most of the tapes I have are 30-minute tapes, but I do have a couple of like 90-minute tapes. Wait, no, that wouldn't be 30 on each side. That'd be 15 on each side. But a 90-minute that wouldn't be 30. That'd be 60-minute. Either way, I have some long tapes and I have some regular length tapes, and I think this is a regular length tape. But this is the tape itself. It's black, and the print is like kind of just like paper. And hold on. This is the front, which I've showed already. Please don't drop it. This is the back. I will also show the J card. I haven't played it yet, but the J card folds out. I was looking at this a little bit earlier. So that is the inside. Oh, hold on. That's the inside. And then on this part, an exploration of mood and the setting of early Gothic literature inspired by the research of Dr. Justin Sledge. Filth Eternal is in Dole, recorded October 2024. And by the way, Justin Sledge is the person, and I haven't really watched a whole lot of his videos, but I've watched some of them, who runs the YouTube channel Esoterica, which talks about, like, religion stuff, just, like, in an academic sense. But I will say, I didn't find this out until much later, but if you look up Justin Sledge, or Dr. Justin Sledge, you will, I don't know why I'm being obtuse about it, so, this is an insane, what do you call it, topic change, but I'm not going to dwell on it for very long. So, back in 98, before Columbine, there was a school shooting at Pearl High School, and the person who did it, I think, got life in prison. I'm pretty sure got life in prison, and Justin Sledge was not directly involved, from what I have read, not directly involved, but was friends with the person, and didn't really see any legal action. And I'm pretty sure he's talked about this, like, publicly before, because, if you look him up, you will find that. Either way, he doesn't even live in Mississippi anymore. He lives in Detroit, from what I saw, Michigan, because I looked him up earlier, because I was like, Justin Sledge, that name is, like, so familiar. Where have I heard this before? And that's where I've heard it before. So yeah. But apparently he, like, does a lot of academic-y things about, religion and things of that nature. And honestly, the few Esoterica videos I watched, I did enjoy them a lot. I watched them, a while ago. Anyway, moving on. Back to the show. So yeah, Indul, great set. He has one of those, I don't know what you would call it. Maybe it is a modular synth. Hold on. Modular synth. I'm trying to see, like, what they look like. I think that's what it is. So it's a thing, it's a big panel, and it's got a bunch of knobs, and it's got a bunch of things that you plug in, and it does different things, and the knobs do different things, and it's cool. Because I got a little peek at it after his set, because, like, I just want to look at one, honestly. Not even really touch it. That's so weird. I just want to look. I don't want to touch. I just want to see what it looks like, I'm looking at pictures of modular synths, and some of these are, like, huge, and some of these are small. Anyway, all that aside. Oh, wait, hold on. Let me go back to my calendar. I kind of love being at my computer now. I feel like this works a little bit more for the setup. Anyways, after that, oh my god, okay. I have to contain my excitement here. So, The Sky Imposed Its Will. I did not know who that was previous to, like, maybe a day or two before, but I saw a post on the Instagram from my favorite Vicksburg band, Death Rows from a Star, saying that, some of our members have side projects and they're going to be performing coming up. And one of those was The Sky Imposed Its Will, and another one was one that I forgot that was going to be doing a different charity show in Vicksburg. I think that happened this weekend. I think that's already happened. Maybe yesterday. Yeah, I think that was yesterday. And I was like, Palmer Shires is going to be, doing this new project, The Sky Imposed Its Will. And I was like, I don't know what this is, but Palmer Shires is, like, I don't really have, like, favorite guitarists, favorite drummers, favorite singers from each band here. But if I had to pick a favorite guitarist, Palmer would probably be up there. I'm not even gonna lie. Just for, you know, the atmosphere that he's able to create just in Death Rows. I greatly enjoy his work in that, and this was fantastic. Like, I was mesmerized. Like, if I had to use a couple of words to describe it, I would say mesmerizing, I would say captivating, and I would say loud, because dear God, was it loud. Like, there were like a few amps lined up in the back. I don't know which ones he was using, but whatever one it was cranked up all the way, because it legit was so loud. And not only could I just feel it in my body, I could like feel it like right up here in my sinuses. Like, that's how loud it was, and thankfully I had my earplugs, because I always bring my earplugs. I stay ready. You stay ready, so you don't gotta get ready. I stay ready. So, the noise wasn't really a problem, but it was so loud I could like feel it. And he had what looked like his like normal pedal board setup, and with all of the pedals, which I've written about this pedal board on jacksonunderground.com. The name of the article is the magical I could just look. The Magical Realism of Death Throws from a Star. That's what it's called. Where I talk about the pedal board, or he talks about the pedal board that he has and all the pedals that he has. But it was like, it was just like so, that same like atmospheric feeling that you get from some of Death Row's music, but with less like riffs and chords and stuff. It really was just like atmosphere and drone a little bit. And it was just, fantastic. I love it so much. I don't know where or when Palmer will be doing or performing with this project, but wherever, I will be there, because I really want to experience that again. I did get a couple of videos, so it was magical. Like, definitely my favorite of the night. I'm not even gonna lie, it was my favorite of the night. Like, wow, that's all I have to say is just like wow. And the video is not going to do it justice, because I feel like in order to fully experience it, you really do have to feel it. Like, it really does. I do like it when my music becomes like a physical experience. And that really is like that. You gotta be there. Like, no recording is really going to do it justice. You have to feel it. At the risk of sounding woo woo, you have to feel it. You gotta feel the music, So that was a lot of fun. And to round out the night was That Which Waits Beyond Sleep, which is JD Burns of Kicking and some other bands, but mostly Kicking. Where am I? Close these tabs. And the last time that I saw him performing this project was last year at another charity show. I think that time was for Big House Books, I think. That charity noise show. And that setup was a little bit different, because he had, I don't know how to explain it. I didn't really have like any pictures or video from that night. Like, it wasn't really that many of us. It was like more of an intimate thing. So I was like, I don't want to be here recording. I'm just gonna vibe, So I can't really show you, but it was like I'm assuming it was like PVC pipe, but it was like gray, so it kind of looked like metal pipes. And he had these two tape decks. I couldn't remember the name of the things that play tapes. Had these two tape decks and like a bunch of microphones and stuff. Like, it was very artsy. All of these like microphones, and I believe he was also playing guitar, but also maybe not. I can't really remember. It's been a year, probably more than a year, I think, at this point. But this time it was kind of different. So, I like how, some noise music really is just like the noise, but also it's sometimes kind of like performance as well. So, he had the two tape decks, and those were going, and a pedal board. I don't think he had a synth. Ravenweather had a synth. And Dole had a modular synth, so not like keyboards, but like a modular thingy. Palmer just had a guitar and his extensive pedal board. And then That Which Waits Beyond Sleep was two tape decks, pedal board, and a guitar. But I love performance, but he was like climbing up on these like two amps, and I get amps are like really freaking heavy, so maybe it was more sturdy than I thought. But I was like, am I about to watch a man die tonight? I really hope not. Please don't fall and bonk your head and crack it open in front of all of us. Like, I don't know if I could take that right now. Like, I'm just gonna be real with you. I don't think I can handle watching someone die in front of me. Thankfully he didn't, so that's great. But Urban Foxes, if you've never been there, really is just kind of like a house. So there is, in the performance room, I guess. It's not really a stage. It's just a performance room. There's a window. It's got a curtain on there, got a curtain rack. And he put his guitar on the strap on the rack and was like throwing a drumstick at the guitar to like make noise and, doing stuff on the pedal board. I thought that was really cool. And then that was the last set of the night, but something that maybe I didn't know this. I don't think I did know this, and it did make me quite emotional. Like, I legit almost started crying, but apparently that night was a member of the community whose name was Ryan Rippey, who died, I believe in February is what he said. That night was his birthday, and Burns became, very emotional talking about it, and something that he said was, check up on your friends, because one day they'll be here and one day they won't. And I don't know, that really got to me. I'm not even gonna lie, that was really sad. But something else that he said was Ryan's family, in lieu of flowers and stuff, wanted people to donate to local animal shelters. And so, if you're watching this and you weren't at the show, I mean, you still have ample opportunity to donate, money or supplies or your time to the Animal Rescue Fund or any number of other nonprofit, animal shelters here in Jackson or in the metro area, because, working on a news station, I feel like every season, every quarter, we do a story about how this one animal shelter is overloaded or this other animal shelter is overloaded, or like every single animal shelter is overloaded. Pretty much every single animal shelter is like overloaded at this point. And they really could use the help. So either out of the kindness of your own heart or in remembrance of Ryan Rippey, or just to help out these animal shelters, you can give back in that way. I don't have the figure. I don't know if it's been posted. I don't think it has yet, for how much in total was raised. But given that it was a pretty decent turnout, I would say probably did pretty good. So, great show for an even better cause. And you can never be mad at that. It was fun. So yeah, those were the shows. Let me see. There's that one, and that one, and I didn't write the other one down. Did I? What is this? What is this that I wrote down? Okay, I did write it down. What is this? I wrote this thing down, but I don't know what it's even in reference to. It says New Age Film. What? Okay, I don't even know when I wrote this down. That's kind of the downside of doing this, like, over the course of 2 weeks, because I don't even know. Oh! Okay, that's an album, and I legit can't read my own handwriting. That says New Age Filth, not film. I got bad handwriting, guys. Like, my handwriting got the best when I was in the 6th grade, and it's just been downhill since then. So, anyway, upcoming shows. I don't know why this is the case, but aside from literally two, I have, like, nothing for the entire month of August. I don't know if these just haven't been announced yet, or I just don't have them on my calendar yet, but literally the only 2 shows that I have coming up, aside from the 2 that are literally happening, like, right now, on Saturday, August 2nd, there is Nihil, Mortal Coil, Face Off, and Face Rot at the Sunflower Oven. And then on the 30th, we have Shadowboxing, Headcanon, and Synthesia at... Is that how you say that? I don't know. I don't think I've ever heard it said out loud. Synthesia at Howlin' Mouse on August 30th, which is literally the end of this upcoming month. So I don't know if there's just not really going to be that many shows in August, or if I just don't have them, but that is what I have on my calendar. And, you know, my calendar is sometimes wrong. So, yeah. Anywho, I wonder if I should just, like, cross these off. I think I'm going to do that. I'll cross you off. Cross that off. Cross that off. Oh, I do have a couple more music-related topics before I move on to my other ones. How long have we been going for? An hour! Well, not an hour, 56 minutes. This episode is going to be like 2 hours long. Like, it's going to be so long. Because one of these that I have on here, I can talk about for like 30 minutes. And another one that I have on here, I can also talk about for 30 minutes. And another one that I have on here that I can also talk about for 30 minutes. But good lord, okay. Well, whatever. Anyway. Ugh. I'm all phlegmy. I've been talking for an hour. Anywho, I erroneously said in the previous episode that by the time that episode came out, False God's new album would be out, and it was not out, but it's out now, and you can listen to it, and it's called Lost in Darkness and Distance. It is 7 tracks and 46 minutes long. I'm looking on Spotify right now. So if you want to check that out, you can. I listened to it a couple of times, but I feel like in order to give it, like, a really good, review, I'd probably need to listen to it a few more times. Like, I feel like it needs a couple more listens. I will say I do like it. It is a little bit different compared to their last album, Neurotopia, which came out in 2022, I believe. It's been a little while. Yeah, 2022. So it is a little bit different, but it's still good. So I want to give that a few more listens before I, like, give my verdict on it, but I want to be able to, I don't know. I hope my recorder doesn't die. It's got 2 bars. It'll be fine. So it's out now. You can listen to it. Yay. There is a CD. I think it is pre-orders. Hold on. I don't know if it's pre-orders yet because it's out now, but False Gods, Lost in Darkness and Distance. Let's see, you can buy the digital album for $12, or you can buy the CD for $12. Well, it's not saying that it's pre-order, so I don't think it's pre-order. So yeah. I wonder if there's any physical copies of Neurotopia. There's the vinyl. Oh, they got CDs! Oh, I want to buy a CD of Neurotopia. Hold on, let me look at it. Oh, that's nice. They don't have any tapes. And I have, of course, put a moratorium on vinyls, but now that I have a way to play CDs, I kind of want this CD. Wait, I'm gonna buy it. Hold on. Let me see. Okay, hold on. I don't have, like, I don't know. Whatever. I'm purchasing it. Oh, wait, hold on. Let me see. There's only 2 left. There's only 2 CDs left, I think. Hold on. Doing this during the podcast is kind of wild, but just, like, work with me here. Okay. I'm buying the CD. Just give me a second. Anyway, yeah, you know me. I'm just expanding my physical media collection. Let's see. I still don't have my new address memorized, which is so funny. Like, I know the numbers, but I don't know the the order of the numbers. I get it mixed up, okay? Let's see. I am literally buying this live purchase. State Mississippi. Where's it at? There it is. I'm so used living in Alabama. You doing the state drop down. You're like right at the top. Mississippi, you gotta go looking for it. It's crazy. All right. Let me put in. Let's see. Wait, nope. Okay. while I'm doing this, does anyone have does anyone have their credit card number memorized? I sure do. I sure do. And what's crazy is I also have my lunch number memorized from freaking high school, which again, I graduated from almost 10 years ago. I still know my lunch number. It's kind of crazy, but you know. Oh, I have to, let me see. Okay. Yep. I am buying a limited edition. Oh my goodness, rare merch. Limited edition CD. Heck yeah. Let me just make sure this is right. Like I said, doing this on the podcast is kind of crazy, but I didn't know if they had any, and I wanted to buy one. Gosh, kill me, whatever. Estimated to ship. Oh dear. Okay. I bought a Neurotopia CD. I'm expanding my CD collection. Anyway, False Gods' new album Lost in Darkness and Distance. You can also buy a CD of that from their Bandcamp, and it probably pays a whole lot more than fraction of a penny on Spotify, because Lord knows I've streamed it so much on Spotify, I might as well buy the physical copy. So yeah, whatever, get into it. And then I can listen to it in my car, because my car has a CD player. But I don't think I'm going to do that, because I don't know. I've never tested out my car CD player, because, like, I don't have any CDs. But now I have my, thingy in my living room. My CD/tape/radio from the 90s, from 92. Did I talk about... Okay, I feel like I must have. Or did I? No, because I bought it since living here, and I didn't talk about it in my last episode. Huh. Well, I was at Goodwill. I feel like I did talk about it. Well, anyways, we're not going to get into it. I have so much stuff to get to. Let me cross this out. Whoop. Okay. One more music topic. So, this isn't like a formal or anything, but usually once a month I get tired of the music that I'm listening to, and I crowdsource the arcane knowledge of my followers on Instagram, and I get them to recommend me a song, and then I put it in a playlist on Spotify, and I listen to it, and sometimes I find good stuff that goes into the rotation, like with Liminal by Exvius. That was recommended to me in one of those. Love that album. Exvius has broken up, though. They broke up, I want to say, in like 2016. So they've been broken up for a while. In fact, I did finally, like, just out of curiosity, like, look up the band, and they had some, like, really interesting stuff going on. So the album art for Liminal, which is, like, this, I don't know, it's, like, one of those old school, to get you in the mind of it, which I've realized there are some young people that listen to the pod that might not even know what I'm talking about, but back in the day, when you would listen to CDs, or music, MP3s, didn't even really matter, on your computer, there would be some programs had a visualizer, which I don't know why Spotify doesn't have this. You know, they're putting money into literally everything else, like give us a visualizer, which I feel like they might have at some point, but Spotify might be heading into its flop era. Like, it might already be in its flop era, but we're not even going to go there. I don't have the time today. But, you know, back when there used to be visualizers, that's kind of what this looks like, but it's like black and white. And they had, I don't know if it was like a contest or just like something that you can do. I think it was because I read about this, it was if you not pre-recorded, what is the word? Pre-ordered the album, they would give you access to like this program that would generate, you know, and this is pre-AI, so you know, it's actually like not terrible. Generate these like visualizer thingies, and one of them got used for, oh, I remember now. You'd use that, and then when the album actually came out, your copy of it would have that cover. That's what it was. But the you know, the cover for all of us other people discovering them years after they've broken up is like a different one. So that was really cool. They were like doing that kind of stuff, which, you know, given that this is a jazz fusiony kind of type of band, sort of, maybe, I don't know. That tracks for like proggy, jazz fusiony type of bands. Anyways, in this latest round of music recommendations, I was recommended the song Slander by Hail the Sun off of the album New Age Filth, and I listened to it. I actually ran it back, so that's how you know it was good. While working, so if it was able to capture my attention while I'm like doing something else, so much so that I run it back, we have a winner, we have a keeper. And so I have been listening to the album New Age Filth by Hail the Sun quite a bit these past couple of days. They have a CD too. Am I gonna buy it? Probably not. How much does it cost? It's $10. Maybe I will. I don't know. It's gonna sound a lot better than, just playing it off my TV because I don't have a soundbar yet. I gotta pay my rent next week, man. It's going on the list though. I should make like a wish list of CDs. I have tried to limit my physical media buying to in person at shows, but I don't know. Why should I? God, my back itches. Jesus. Okay. Anyway, I've been listening to this album a lot. It is a kind of post-hardcore type of thing from 2021, so it's like relatively recent, but it feels like stuff I might have listened to like back in, I don't know, college, so like, 2017 to 2020. Yeah, that's when I graduated. And I don't know, it sounds really familiar to me. I know I haven't listened to this band before, but like the sound is just like very familiar in a way that I can't really place. But it is kind of, it's post-hardcore, and they are currently, well, not yet. They're going on tour with Between the Buried and Me, Hail the Sun, The World is a Beautiful Place, and I'm No Longer Afraid to Die. Interesting. I almost saw Between the Buried and Me in New Orleans. I'm pretty sure it was New Orleans, but I can't remember why, but I didn't go, and maybe I should have gone. But yeah, one of the fans also like bands is Dance Gavin Dance, and it sounds like that, but it sounds like not really, if that makes sense. Like, it feels like it could be a swancore band, but it's not really a swancore band, Oh, they went on tour. I don't know why I thought, oh yeah, they did an anniversary tour. This album literally came out in 2021, but it feels older than that. Like, musically, it feels older than that. Anyway, let me get off Spotify. I've been listening to that. Perhaps you should listen to it. It feels very familiar and like warm to me, which I think is why I kind of gravitated towards it a little bit. So yeah. God, I can't believe I've been talking for an hour and I am not done at all. Still on 2 bars from my recorder though. Celebrate that. I'm sorry for doing that, by the way. I have to. Like, the phlegm, it's a lot. And by the way, this doesn't happen in normal conversation. It happens when I'm yapping nonstop for an hour. So, there you go. Cross that one off the list. Now, what do I want to do next? Okay. So, deep breath, because this is, I don't know. Well, I mean, let's just jump into it. I saw the movie Eddington yesterday evening, and so I've had this rule since media about COVID started coming out, was that I was not going to consume any of it because, bear with me for a second, because I feel like as I was formulating these thoughts, I was like, man, I sound like that bald British guy yelling about pronouns in video games, but just like, walk with me here. Hold my hand and walk with me, because you're just going to have to understand me for a second. So, some people feel this way, some people don't. When I am consuming media, I feel like I do want it to be escapism. And again, this is where the bald man yelling at pronouns kind of comes in, which it's not about that, but you know, if you look, hold on, I want to see if you Google bald man yelling at pronouns, will you get it? Wait, hold on. Bald man yelling about pronouns. What? Pronouns. Yeah. Yep. So, okay, if you Google bald man yelling about pronouns, you will find what I'm talking about. I hope I don't sound like that guy, because, I usually don't yell, but I feel like my media is supposed to be escapism, which, by the way, people having pronouns doesn't affect my escapism at all. I don't know why I had to clarify that, but just to kind of distance me from bald man yelling about pronouns. So it's like, after, honestly, I feel like people have started to make COVID media, like, by the end of 2020, which is crazy to think about. And I'm not talking about, like, memoirs or, stuff about them actually experiencing it. I'm talking about fictionalized stuff, which to me was, like, weird, because, even in, like, December 2020, it still felt like we were in the middle of it. So it's like, how are you making... It's like... To me, it was like doing a true crime documentary about a trial, or about a case where the trial hasn't even happened yet. Like, all the stuff that was starting to come out, all the, like, true crime documentaries that were coming about during, like, before the Alex Murdaugh trial. Which is, like, crazy, because why would I want, unless it's, like, unsolved mysteries or something like that, why do I want to watch something true crime and there's, like, no resolution? Which, I mean, I get it. It's real life. Sometimes things in real life don't have a resolution. But there's literally a trial coming up. You can't wait, like, a year. Like, you had to be first. We could litigate that, but we're not going to. Not today. So, I have been very against, like, consuming things about COVID, because, like, I lived through that. It's kind of different watching, fictionalized things about things that have happened, maybe a little bit farther in the past, but still sort of, you know, within living memory. So, like, I don't know, stuff about the Vietnam War, all of those movies about 9/11, the fictional ones. I remember watching Flight 93, which I wanted to see when that came out. Flight 93. That came out in 2006, so that was like 5 years after 9/11. Okay, I'm talking about the movie. Yeah, 5 years after 9/11, which this is literally 5 years after, COVID. So I feel like, but I didn't watch Flight 93 in 2006 when I was like 7 or 6 years old, okay? I watched it when I was maybe like 15 or something like that. It was during like the anniversary of 9/11, where they were like, play all the documentaries on TV and play all the movies on TV. So I was a little bit more removed from it, but now I wonder, which apparently this is like pretty, or United 93, not Flight 93. That's the name of the movie. The name of the movie is United 93. It's got like a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic. I am sort of interested to see how it was received after it came out, and, not like now, or like more recently, I guess. But, I guess, yeah. Well, United 93 is not a, gonzo take on 9/11. It's, from what I remember, is pretty, straightforward about the story, and, I mean, ends with them crashing in a field. So, I mean, it's still based on a true story, like, based on true events. Eddington is set during COVID, but obviously not really based on true events. It's kind of, just a story that happens in the midst of COVID. And it's like, okay, before I get into what I'm going to say, I do want to say that the movie was well acted. Like, Joaquin Phoenix and Pedro Pascal and some of the other actors, they did a good job. Technically, it was a good movie. Technically. But, and this is like 100% on me, because knowing that I don't want to, and I have never wanted to consume media about COVID, I went and saw a movie set during COVID. So it's like, I didn't really expect to like it, to be completely honest. Which is crazy to think about, going in and watching a movie and sort of knowing in the back of your head that you might not like it. I mean, I wanted to. It had Joaquin Phoenix and Pedro Pascal and, oh my god, what's her name? Not Emma Watson. Oh my god, Izzy A. What is her name? Oh my god. What is her name? Emma Stone. It has her in it. And, these are all good actors that I admire. I've liked the Ari Aster films that I've seen. I love Midsummer. Beau is Afraid was bizarre, but I still enjoyed it, But this was just not hitting the mark for me. Which, now I'm going to look something up. I am looking something up. Okay, Ari Aster did write the screenplay for Midsummer. Never mind. I thought somebody else wrote it. So I was like, okay, this one, Eddington was also written and directed by Ari Aster. And it's like, has he lost the sauce? Like, I don't know. But no, he has fully written it. So never mind. I don't know. And also, Eddington wasn't really like a horror movie. Midsummer is a horror movie. I haven't seen Hereditary. I do want to see it at some point, but I don't want to watch it alone because I am a delicate little baby. So it's like, his other work I have liked, but this one just missed the mark for me. I don't know. I really think it is just the fact that it's a COVID movie, and the thought that I had, the prevailing thought that I had in my mind as I was watching it was like, this movie is exhausting to watch about as much as COVID was exhausting to live through. It'll be different if this were an event that happened that I didn't experience, and, it just, I don't know. Let me form an intelligent thought. So, it is centering on, and by the way, spoilers for Eddington, but also, if you skip this one out, like, I would understand. I mean, hey, if you want to watch a COVID movie, then by all means. It's not something that I would do, but anyway, it's about this small town in New Mexico, population like a little over 2,000, called Eddington. And so there's this guy who's mayor, played by Pedro Pascal. I can't remember any of the characters' names, by the way. There's this guy who's mayor, played by Pedro Pascal, and he's like a kind of yuppie liberal type. And then there's a sheriff, played by Joaquin Phoenix, they're definitely opposites of each other. Like, I believe this would be the classic foil for each other. He's a older person, definitely a Republican, definitely a conservative. He's the sheriff for this small town. He's the only, he's the law. People respect him, and, that is that. Something that you might see in a small town. A town small enough where they have a sheriff for the county, but not a police force for the town. Because, again, population like 2,000. And there are 3 cops that work in this entire town. So there's Joaquin Phoenix's character. There's the other one who's like a weeaboo. He has like anime stickers on his computer. So he will henceforth be referred to as weeaboo. And then there's a black one, which that plays into some of these plot points a little bit as well. And so, it's set in May of 2020. And by this time, I remember the first lockdown was like March. Like right in the middle of March. I was on spring break. I got that email being like, hey, we're extending spring break by like a week. And I was like, oh shoot, this is kind of crazy. And then by May, I feel like we all went home. And that was like towards the end of the semester. Because I think people started going home in like March, or April rather. But I think by May, all of us were like at home. And so we're right smack dab in the middle. We're at like the nature's healing part of lockdown, where the animals are starting to come back into the urban areas and the smog is going away. Like that was like that summer of 2020 from what I remember, and things were very uncertain. This is pre-vaccine, so there's like, people are getting it and some people are surviving it, but a lot of people aren't. A lot of people are dying at this point. And so, COVID has not quite reached Eddington yet. And so, there's a lot of rigmarole about masks, like, and I feel like this is taking the things that happened in 2020 and like cranking them up to like a bajillion, because as someone who was actually living in a small town during COVID, I mean, it was bigger than Eddington. Selma's population is 17 or 18,000 or something like that, so a little bit more. But as someone who was actually living in a small town during COVID, I feel like even in a town of my size, like these things were not, I don't know, it just wasn't playing out that way. I wasn't living in New Mexico. I don't know what the people in New Mexico are like. I was in central Alabama, so it's like it's a little bit different. My ear itches. Ugh, okay. So it's like, I don't know. People, for the most part were wearing masks because, the fact of the matter was a lot of people were dying. A lot of people in our town were dying. I lucked way out because, I was probably one of the few people, like an outlier, who got to say that, nobody really close to me, like, died from COVID. Like, I'm extraordinarily lucky to be able to say that, but that is not most people's experience. So people were legit, like, dropping dead. And, I feel like the community, for the most part, knew the risks. So if people were going out, they were wearing masks. And the people who could not go out because, they're older or immunocompromised, they were staying home for the most part. And the people who didn't and who did get COVID, I mean, they just straight up died. And so, that was kind of that. Because it was very deadly and very contagious at this point. Which I feel like some people just, like, kind of straight up forgot about that whole era. Like, I know we want to forget, because, like, who wants to remember the time where, kind of everyone around you was dying and there was, like, a lot of uncertainty, and, like, that's objectively really bad. Like, who would want to remember such a thing? You would want to memory hole that kind of thing. But, I still remember how it was like. And I feel like, it just wasn't like that. And now I know how I sound, being mad that this Ari Aster movie isn't 100% realistic to real life. Oh no. But, I and I mean, hey, maybe that was the point, to crank everything up to 11, where people are literally getting in fistfights about masks and there are a bunch of teenagers being performative about Black Lives Matter, And also, that was so weird to me, where eventually they have, like, this huge protest, like, gigantic, like, a whole street filled up, like, the entire city of Eddington came out. Because, again, let me remind you, this town's population is 2,000. Like, every single teenager and 20-something came out. Because something that you have to realize in small population towns, such as Eddington, like an Eddington-type town, is that most of the population is going to be older. There's going to be extraordinarily few young people, because the young people that are there, they're going to soon be leaving so that they can have a life outside of this small town with no opportunities. It's happening to my own hometown that is small, I would say the population there skews older. And the ones that are younger, most of them are leaving because, the only career opportunities that are in Selma, Alabama is to either work in a factory or be a teacher, which, not ragging on people who work in factories or are teachers, but a lot of people don't want to do that for one reason or another, so they have to go somewhere else where the jobs are, And then there's another thing, and a whole other plot point, is that there's this, like, data center that's going to be built in the county, outside of the town, and people are, kind of upset about that. But I feel like that wasn't, as big of a plot point as it could have been. But also the name of the company, which I'm assuming is a fake company, it'd be weird if it was a real company, it was called Solid Gold Magikarp, which all I could think about is the Pokemon Magikarp. So it's like, okay, that's an interesting name. Which, by the way, by the end of the movie, they do end up building the data center, because of course they do. And it's like, I don't know. Honestly, during the second act, I was like, I don't have to stay here. Like, nobody's holding me hostage. I could just leave. I could just leave the movie. But I wanted to give it a chance. Because, again, I spent my hard-earned American dollars buying a ticket to this movie, so I'm gonna stay and I'm gonna watch it. Because I paid my money for it, okay? And by the third act, things do start to pick up finally, but it's like it wasn't really enough. Unfortunately, Pedro Pascal's presence did not save this movie for me. You know, I hate that for me. But yeah, but also something that I kind of realized is that I feel like that is how a lot of conspiracy brain boomers experience 2020, cuz another thing that happened, which is preposterous, but honestly it was low-key kind of funny. Maybe it was supposed to be funny. I don't know. Was there supposed to be comedy in this? It was for me because of how preposterous it was, but there is a whole thing during pretty much any protest, but especially during a number of George Floyd protests that happened in 2020 in Minneapolis and elsewhere in the country. A lot of, again, conspiracy brain boomers were like, Antifa is going and killing people, even though, Antifa is not a centralized, organized group of people. It's a more or less just an ideology, and there are some loose groups, but they certainly aren't mobilizing and going places and like looting and shooting up places and killing people. But for whatever reason, Antifa is like a real like paramilitary group in this movie, and they come to Eddington on a private jet, and they start terrorizing the town. And it's like, this is ridiculous, because something that you have to realize is that people actually believe that's real. Like, one thing about it is that I can find it funny because it's ridiculous, because that's not what's happening, but other people will see this and they're like, yeah. Like, yeah, Eddington's a documentary, Like, people really believed that there are these people getting shipped out to these cities and like wreaking havoc in the name of Antifa or George Soros, and that's simply not what was happening, you know? And like a lot of people's brains broke during 2020 and the COVID pandemic in general. And, this movie was a good example of how that happened, because Joaquin Phoenix's wife, Emma Stone, in the movie, goes off to be with like this cult leader guy, which again, I feel like that wasn't something that was really explored as much as it could have been. Like, I feel like there are so many like side plots that were just kind of sort of explored on a surface level, but the main plot, obviously, was, the mayor, played by Pedro Pascal, was up for re-election, and, the mayor and the sheriff are always button heads, especially about, the mask mandates and stuff like that. And it all comes to a head at a campaign event of the mayor's where, somebody calls a noise complaint, which is very confusing to me, because it feels like everybody's house in this town is like 5 miles away from their neighbor. So it's like, who is calling it a noise complaint? Like, how can you even hear that? You live 6 miles down the road. Like, what? It's one of those types of towns where it's just like spread out for no reason. And so, the sheriff is responding to a noise complaint, and he is slapped 2 times by the mayor, and he like leaves. Cool as a cucumber, just leaves. And he has announced his run for mayorship by this point. You've got all this stuff going on in the background. You got all these protests, the performative teenagers protesting. And it's like, I guess it just all comes to a head after being openly disrespected. And, by this time, I'm pretty sure his wife has like left to be with the cult leader guy. Basically, this guy is getting cucked but from all angles. So it's like, okay, I guess I gotta kill the mayor. And so the next night, he like, for whatever reason, has a sniper rifle. Why would a sheriff's department need a sniper rifle or sniping capabilities? I don't know, especially in a small county like that. I mean, it's the militarization of the police, I guess. Even in a small town, you need a sniper rifle for the sheriff, Anyway, yeah, shoots Pedro Pascal and his son, which is crazy. And, tries to make it look like Antifa did it, which is insane, because I feel like that also happened in 2020 a lot. A lot of bad actors especially looting, and not even really looting, just destroying things. I remember reading accounts from people who were actually like on the ground protesting, and they would see these people, not even really protesting. They would show up at night and like start smashing windows. And this might be conspiracy brained of me, but I think a lot of people thought those were like the police basically going in and making the protesters look bad so that they would have a reason to open fire on them. I can believe that. The police have done. I mean, listen, we're in the era of ICE raids, so it's like it's not really outside of the realm of possibility that the police would do that. If they're gonna, put on masks for the first time in their lives, not during COVID, but during now, they're gonna put on masks and conceal their identity, not have any form of identification, just snatch people off the street. I could believe that they would do that, just saying. So, he kills the mayor, tries to make it look like Antifa did it, and then because the mayor lived on tribal land, the tribal police come to handle it, which, if you didn't know, in the United States, tribal lands are technically sovereign, which means they have their own leadership separate from the United States government. They do work hand in hand, but it is legally separate from the U.S. government. So they have their own police forces. They have their own system of government, like tribal government. That is how it works here with the Mississippi Band of Choctaw Indians. They have their own tribal government and tribal police. Maybe some other things that I might be missing, but, if a crime occurs on tribal land, then it is, the jurisdiction of the tribal police. And so they're investigating and actually doing a good job because, they're not trying to cover it up because they didn't do it, and so eventually one of the tribal police guys, finds out or is able to find out or figures out rather that, Joaquin Phoenix's character was the one that shot the mayor and killed him and his son, but before he's able to do anything, he dies. He gets shot in the head by Antifa, which is a real thing in this movie. It was I don't know. I could get into the feud with the mayor and the sheriff, but everything else about the movie I didn't like. And I'm not gonna lie, it is because, like I said, living through 2020 was supremely exhausting, and so was this movie. And for that, I gave it 2.5 stars on Letterboxd, because like I said, it was technically, on a technical level, a good movie. It was well acted, it was well made, so it's I can't complain about that, but the plot is, the premise, I just couldn't get into. But I haven't actually read any reviews. I put my review on Letterboxd, but I didn't read it. And on average, it's got 3.4 stars, with most of them being pretty high. So I don't know. I'm probably the only person that had such strong negative feelings about this, but I don't know. I'll just read the top few reviews. This one that rated 3 stars was go back to 2020 for 2.5 hours challenge level hard, which, yeah, that's, what's this one? Oh, this is long, but I'm gonna read it though. This is a 1-star review, and it's got 4,000 likes on Letterboxd. It says by Clara Curtis. I don't know why I didn't know how to read for a second. Grossly irresponsible to make a film that attempts to examine the intensely vitriolic state of American politics amidst the earliest months of COVID, and not mention how Trump or the MAGAsphere directly amplified and exacerbated so many of those very issues. Now, the movie did go into a lot of, the conspiracy stuff. There would be some shots where on the wife's computer, she'll be watching the cult guy, which I feel that's standard cult stuff. That doesn't really feel like COVID cult stuff, but there'll be search results about hydroxychloroquine and what the government isn't telling you and stuff like that. But weirdly, that is left out, which I didn't even really clock that until now. But at least we can laugh about the youths caring very loudly about George Floyd's murder, and we can roll our eyes at the women who succumb to right-wing conspiracies as a coping mechanism to deal with trauma that exists just to make them difficult to stomach. I found every part of this uninteresting, maybe even worse, unintelligent, no interest in digging into the nuances that exist within this reality, no attempt at reconciling with these experiences, just nonstop upping the ante. In bizarrely cruel and misguided ways, Aster seems to be gravitating towards more with each new film. Which, like, yeah, honestly. Like, yeah. Now, I want to find, like, a high rating. Here we go. Oh, this is too long. I'm not reading all of that. Hold on. I want a high rating that's, like, not 16 paragraphs. People are writing book reports on Letterboxd. Jesus H. Okay. Let's see. I'm trying to find, like, a high review that isn't also 70 million billion jillion. Okay. This one's 4 stars and it's a like, and it is a little bit long, but I will read it just to give, like, a conflicting view, maybe. Eddington unfolds during peak COVID-19 season, yet it avoids depicting a single victim of the virus. It's interesting as well, because, May, during this time, a lot of people were dying. And, like, yeah, it wasn't as fast in places that did have such small populations, but towards the end of the movie, the sheriff, played by Joaquin Phoenix, gets tested for COVID, and, like, we don't see his results, but we're pretty sure he has COVID, but that went nowhere. That was so weird to me. Okay. Instead, it zeroes in on the psychological damage of the pandemic and how 6 feet of distance is all it took to break us apart. The small town of Eddington functions as a microcosm of our society, anchoring the core conflict on the divide between a sheriff and a mayor and their response to the pandemic. Trapped between them is everyone impacted by their failed leadership, a parable for how poorly our governments handled the collective trauma of COVID-19. I had a burp. Ari Aster depicts the lore of 2020. Oh, the lore. Describing the events of 5 years ago as lore is so insane to me, but we're moving on. Ari Aster dissects the lore of 2020 by exploring how social media echo chambers warp reality, from QAnon morphing conspiracy theorists into cults to performative activism hurting the genuine support for movements like BLM, all while opportunistic grifters turn misery and chaos into profit, whether it's conservative podcast hosts or mega corporations. The film opens with a homeless man stumbling into Eddington. The vagrant is treated like a virus, everyone is afraid of him, and he's eventually eradicated. Which, that was weird too. Like, there's this homeless guy that kind of, I don't know, just exists on the fringes, and then all of a sudden, after being slapped by Pedro Pascal, the Mayor Pedro Pascal, the sheriff, played by Joaquin Phoenix, finds the homeless guy's broken into the bar that the mayor owns and just, like, shoots him. It honestly felt like it came out of nowhere, but I suppose if you see the homeless man as an allegory for COVID itself, yeah, I don't know. Let's see. The film opens, okay. In contrast, the tech company that perpetuates hysteria is welcomed with open arms. The film's last shot is of solid gold Magikarp looming over Eddington. The data center is built on stolen land, and its office lights shine brighter than any building in the fractured town. In our inability to take care of each other, we invited a more pervasive virus into our home. Eddington stands out because it's not afraid to confront all sides of our recent history. Not particularly well, but it confronts them, but not particularly well. Many directors shy away from depicting the surreal dystopia we live in, but Aster proves that reality can be more compelling than fiction. Tragic and darkly hilarious, Eddington is one of my favorites of the year. This guy's favorite, not mine. And the best movie about the COVID-19 pandemic, which probably not a high bar to beat if we're being honest. So, yeah, I try to go in to movies with as little background as possible, because I just think that makes a better viewing experience for me, because I can experience it with fresh new eyes. But the only thing I knew about this is that Pedro Pascal, Joaquin Phoenix, and COVID, and yeah, it wasn't enough for me. So That's why I gave it 2.5 stars on Letterboxd. I can't say that I really enjoyed it that much, honestly. You know, I would rewatch Beau is Afraid. I would and have rewatched Midsummer. Not alone, but I have. So it's like, you know, a sweet abyss from Ari Aster. Just so phlegmy. Just so phlegmy. But we're almost there. Home stretch, folks. Home stretch. Okay, this next one, I don't really have a whole lot to say, but Drag Race this season has concluded, and Ginger Minj was crowned the winner of Drag Race All-Star Season 9? I don't even know what season this was, this latest season. And you know, I can't say I didn't see it coming, but I feel like I echo a lot of other people's sentiments, where it's like, having the lip sync for the crown be like the determining, and for those just watching the audio version, if you're only listening to the audio version, you're only getting half the story. But I'm doing big air quotes for the final deciding factor, for who actually wins. I feel like they could have, like, I already don't really like a lip sync in Lollapalooza. I just don't find them interesting. But I feel like since clearly they were already on their heads to crown Ginger as the winner, based on her track record, they could have picked a different format for the end. Like, that's my only thing. Like, I'm not, like, I feel like, yeah, she won, but something other than the Lollapalooza, like, you know, I don't know. It is just All-Stars, which calling it just All-Stars, maybe a little crazy, but anyways. Aside from that, I did really like the bracket format, and I do kind of hope they bring it back. Maybe not for a main season. I do like it for an All-Stars format, so I thought, you know, this new format was nice, and, you know, I do think, you know, the lip sync Lollapalooza, there's a lot of rigomoris, but aside from that, it was an enjoyable season of television. And I don't normally watch All-Stars. Like, the last All-Stars that I watched was All-Stars 2, and that was for She Who Cannot Be Named. But either way, still enjoyed All-Stars 2. So yeah, that was that. Not really a whole lot to say other than I hope they continue using that format if they're going to have 50-11 contestants on one season. I mean, that's a pretty good way to go about it. So, cross that off. Okay, so for the last thing in the night, this is like the first thing that I wrote down on my list because, number one, it happened some time ago, but also, I feel like this one has definitely been at the forefront of my mind a little bit more. So, this was a couple weeks ago. I think I just came back from work or something like that, and I checked my phone, and I have an email from this website called Coverfly being like, hey, download your data. You'll have until August 1st to do so. And I was like, what is going on? Is Coverfly shutting down? So, if you don't know, and by the way, I talked about this on my on my Instagram stories, back when it happened, but I feel like I should give, I don't know, I've had more time to marinate over it, so I feel like I have more to say. But Coverfly, I feel like most people primarily use Coverfly for coverage services, and if you don't know what that is, it's basically where if you have a screenplay, you can pay someone, and the idea is that you're paying a professional, an industry professional, someone who's been, you know, a producer or maybe a director or maybe also a screenwriter, working, you know, in Hollywood for however long, and therefore should have the expertise to know what works and what doesn't in a script. You pay them, and they will give you detailed notes about your script, ostensibly to make it better. Okay, so that is the idea for Coverfly. You know, it pretty much aggregated a bunch of different coverage services on its website, including one that it offered. And another thing that people used it for was for screenplay competitions. But I did not primarily use it for either of those things because if you didn't know, coverage for a script costs usually a lot of money, like anywhere from $50 to $200 to even $300. It's a lot of money to get, hopefully this industry insider with a whole lot of experience to read your script and give you notes on it, and I guess their time is valuable. Screenplays are very long. Also, keep that in mind. Screenplays are usually, at minimum, 90 pages, and usually they go a bit higher than that. So it takes time to read a screenplay, and the price, it is high. It is a little bit prohibitive, but I can see why it would be priced that way. I didn't really use it for either of those things. I talked about in a YouTube video from a couple of years ago. I think I might have been in my first apartment for this one, so I'm gonna have to look for it. What is it called? I actually can't remember which one this was, but I'm like 90% sure. Okay, no, it was not that one. So it's called An Update on My Screenwriting Journey, parentheses, I've been busy, on my It's Just Aaron channel, where I talk about, my process writing my second script and also submitting it, which, again, I say this in the video, but this is something that I would never do again. Submitting it to a bunch of contests where I end up spending an embarrassing amount. I want to say it was like over $300 submitting my first draft of a script to a bunch of screenplay competitions, which again is something that I would never do again, partially because I do sort of kind of think, not all of them, there are some that are attached to, respected film festivals, but I feel like there are a lot, but not all, screenplay competitions that are just kind of a racket. Like, you'd be better off burning your money, essentially. So that is kind of how I feel about them. I made my very expensive mistake. When was this? 2 years ago. I hopefully won't repeat that mistake ever again, because I had more money than sense back then. I don't know. That's what it feels like. I just felt like I had more money than sense, honestly. And I thought, I don't know, I just thought it would yield something for me, but it didn't. And by the way, I'm not like mad that I spent a lot of money and nothing ended up happening. I mean, obviously I'm not super stoked about having spent $300. I could have used that for literally anything else. But I think it was a valuable lesson learned on my behalf. Anyways, all that to say, Coverfly hosted a bunch of screenplay competitions, as well as a bunch of services where you could get coverage on your script. But they had another service on their website called Coverfly X, and that was a peer-to-peer, I guess, screenplay coverage service where you would submit your script or upload your script for other people to read. And these are fellow writers. These are not necessarily industry people. They could be if they just wanted to be on there. But you would submit your script and you would, let me see. It was free, right? It was completely free, but there was a token system. And the way that you earn tokens is by reviewing other people's scripts, and so you use those tokens to list your script. Okay, so there was a sort of currency. You couldn't buy tokens with real money. You really had to, be in the trenches, reading other people's scripts and giving coverage. But I really like doing that. I had a 4.75 on Coverfly. I was like, I was really in there. Like, I love reading other people's material and giving feedback on it. I love doing it in school. I love doing it now. And Coverfly was like a really easy way to do that and like help people out in a way that felt, more altruistic than paying like $200 for someone to read your script and give you notes. The only thing is that these people aren't industry people. They're just your fellow writers, which I feel like learning from your fellow writers is maybe more valuable to me anyways. So like, yeah, and that is what I would primarily use the website for. And I hadn't really in the past like year or so because, when I was doing this, I was working at my old job, so I had unlimited free time. And so oftentimes I would be like reading scripts and writing coverage like during work hours because again, I had literally nothing to do. That is not the case these days. I literally have things to do. So, I haven't really been able to do it. But yeah, they are shutting the service down. By the time this comes out, it will still be up, but it is shutting down officially August 1st. So literally 2 days left when this is out and when you are watching this. And if you're watching this after August 1st, it's gone. And so, some people are lamenting the loss of because you could also like create a profile there. And, if you had festival or contest placements, you can put that there, which you could just put that on your LinkedIn or, I don't know, your personal website, a portfolio or resume. But I guess it was an easier way to do that. And I have a portfolio website that does list my accolades, that I do have, because I do have some accolades. So it's like, it's a lot cheaper than paying out the booty butt cheeks to submit to contests and paying for coverage. But also, my accolades are not for my screenwriting. They are for what I do at work. So it's a little bit different, I guess, maybe. So a lot of people were lamenting that loss, but I'm primarily lamenting the loss of Coverfly X, because there really is nothing else out there that existed like that. And okay, technically, you had the screenwriting subreddit. That exists. And I don't know how big the community for r/screenwriting is. Let me see. /r/screenwriting. So, right now, there are 142 people online, and there are 1 million subscribers in total. 1.7 million subscribers. So, I would say it's a decently active subreddit, but I, in search of the screenwriting community, of course, found the screenwriting subreddit. And, they do have some threads on there that are helpful about certain aspects. And also, sometimes you can find certain screenplays on the subreddit, like for movies that have already come out that maybe got leaked and aren't available via official channels, or ones that come out outside of the for-your consideration scripts for the Oscars or the Golden Globes. Because I also just like reading screenplays, just as a form of literature. I don't think most people view screenplays as a form of literature. I don't know if that is changing. Maybe it is. I don't really know. I don't really know, any other screenwriters, though. That's the thing. I want stuff like that because I don't know any other screenwriters. It's really unfortunate. I did literally go to film school with other film people, but I don't talk to any of them anymore, and that is for a number of reasons. That's for a number of reasons, but I just don't know any other screenwriters anymore. So it's I live in Mississippi. This isn't like LA, where every third barista that you bump into is a screenwriter. So it might be a little bit harder to find them. Also, it's kind of hilarious that I'm talking about this now when the Jackson Film Festival literally wrapped up last Friday. But the only thing about that, and I have wanted to do stuff with that, but all the events are held during my work hours when I'm actually working. And it's okay, to be fair, if I really did want to just lock in and get in there, I could just take the week off. But that didn't really line up this year. So maybe next year, I can lock in, take the week off during the Jackson Film Festival week and participate in some things. Hopefully, I went to the gala 2 years ago for work, sort of for work, but also not really. I was able to go because of where I worked, but it wasn't for work. I wasn't working during the gala. And it was really nice. It was actually really nice to be around filmmakers. So it's perhaps I should do this. But it's kind of, capitalism is the enemy of creativity, because instead of, attending all these workshops and networking with my fellow creatives, I'm at work doing creative things, but still at work, trying to afford this apartment that I live in. So, it's a double-edged sword, I guess. But what was I saying? Yeah, the screenwriting subreddit, while it is somewhat active, I mean, the vibes are off over there. And it's just, I don't know. You'll see people asking, like, up and coming screenwriters asking for advice, because you will have, like, industry old timers in the screenwriting subreddit. And I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm just too much of an optimist, or I don't know. I just don't have the evil gene yet, but I haven't I haven't really developed my evilness. My vile nature hasn't, flourished at this moment, but I feel like the industry people that are in there are just like jaded and like bitter about it, you know? It's like you're working and you're bitter about working. It's like I don't know, man. It's the vibes are off in there. What can I say? That's all I have to say is that the vibes are off in the screenwriting subreddit. And so I don't really want to spend much time in there aside from, looking for certain screenplays. So that's that on that. But in learning that Coverfly is leaving, I also kind of went down a rabbit hole and found out that apparently the Nickel Fellowship, which is run by the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, it is like the preeminent, what do you call it? Screenwriting competition where if you win, you are given, I want to say, like $30,000 or something like that over like 4 quarters. And your only like requirement for this fellowship, it's a fellowship. It's not just a competition. I should point that out. It's not just a competition. It is a fellowship that you win. So if you submit your script and you win this fellowship, which I think, I can't remember how many. I want to say it's like 10 maybe people that can win or something like that. You'll be a part of this like, elite fellowship, I guess, of other screenwriters who are, at this high caliber that you are, but you're also it's a, what do you call it? It's not a retreat. I forget what it's called, but basically there's this thing that you can go to in LA where you're actually, it's like a writer's retreat or something like that. It's something like that, but there's like workshops and networking and all of that kind of stuff. So it's not just a screenwriting competition. It is, you win like $30,000 over the course of like 4 quarters or something like that. I can't quite remember. And you get these classes. And also the requirement is that you have to, write a screenplay in a year. And so, getting 30,000, well, it has to be more than 30,000. Maybe it isn't. I don't know. Getting $30,000 and being in these workshops and stuff is supposed to aid in that. So it's not just like a regular competition where it's like, oh, you're first place and maybe get a little bit of money. But you actually kind of get something out of that. But it's gotten to the point now where there are so many submissions to this fellowship that they have kind of outsourced. I don't know if outsourced would be the right word, but basically the submissions are through the blacklist. And if you don't know what the blacklist is basically, it's not quite like Coverfly, but you pay a certain amount. I can't remember how much it was. I think it's like $80 or something per script to have your script listed. And the idea is that, directors and producers can look for your script and find it and read it, and give it a rating. And if it's like given a high rating, it'll be featured on the website so that other industry people can look at it. And the idea is that, screenwriters are getting their scripts optioned, which is, purchased from the blacklist. And the most recent, what do you call it, example of this that I can think of is the movie Don't Worry Darling, which some people didn't like. Not really for the movie itself, but more for the production of it, like all of the drama that happened around the production. I saw the movie in theaters. I thought it was like fine. I thought it was just okay. But it was found on the blacklist. It was purchased from the blacklist, and it also went through an extensive rewrite So there is like an original, like the blacklist version of that script floating around, and then there's like the rewritten version that's like floating around as well. But that's the most recent example that I can give of people getting their scripts optioned and produced from the blacklist. So I don't really know how. I didn't really read into it that much, other than to find out that's what's happening, like how the Nickel Fellowship is working with the blacklist, if it's just like a submission platform or what, I don't really know. But also, the thing about the Nickel Fellowship is that it is kind of expensive to submit to. Like, I ended up spending... So, when I submitted my script to the Nickel Fellowship, it was like one of the last deadlines. Like, I was late in doing it, so I think I ended up paying $190. Kind of because I was getting like the FOMO, like, oh, if I don't do it this year, then I don't know. Again, I had more money than sense. I should have just waited until the next year to do it. I mean, if I waited, I probably would have ended up not doing it, so it's like, whatever, but, I didn't want to miss out, so I ended up paying $190. I can't remember, there was like some other thing that was tacked on to that price, that was part of that price, rather. It's been a while. It's been like 3 years closer to that since all of that went down, so like I have forgotten some of it, but I have detailed it in that video that I mentioned on my It's Just Erin channel, so if you want to watch that, then be my guest. I actually looked and my hair is so short. I really like the length of my hair in this video, but anyways, that's neither here nor there. Honestly, I do kind of want to watch that again just to reminisce, I guess. But yeah, so there are a lot of changes going on. I feel like the sentiment was that the doors to getting into the film industry as a plucky young screenwriter are, closing. There's a lot less ways to get in unless you have an agent, or like a manager or something like that that can do that kind of thing for you. I will say, for me personally, getting WGA membership is still like a career goal of mine. That is still something that I want to do. There are ways that I can do that though in my current like career path, and I am exploring those. So, all hope isn't lost. So it's not. I was kind of like about it when I was making those Instagram stories that evening. But I have remembered that once you are, which I don't know, man, like there's already a lot going on with like AI and stuff. And in fact, something that kind of reignited that was I read this article. So I perused this website called Long Reads, and it's basically like a aggregator of long form articles, like long form journalism, a lot of personal essays. I've read some really great long form journalism from this website, but I read one recently. Where is it? Here we go. It's called Hollywood's Being Reshaped by Generative AI. What does that mean for screenwriters? By Josh Rottenberg in the LA Times. And so it's like, something that I have kind of realized, and like walk with me here, hold my hands and walk with me here, is that, film as an industry is very young, relatively speaking. Like, the first films were being made, I mean, if we're not really talking about like the Thomas Edison stuff, like in the past 125 years is how long the film industry as an industry, I will say, has like been around. So it's like, this is all still relatively new, and I mean, it doesn't feel that new because I feel like every person that is alive now has been alive, when movies have been like a thing that have been, a casual pastime. Either you had to go down to the Nickelodeon, or now you could just have movies in your house. You have home box office, But I feel like still, all that being said, the film industry, as an industry, as something that employs a lot of people is still relatively new, and it is rapidly changing. Um, and it has kind of gotten me thinking, like, have I hitched my wagon to a dying horse? Like, I have a film degree. That is what my degree is in. My formal post-secondary training is in how to make a film. And, it's basically like, should I have, chosen better? Should I have just, cared a little bit more when I was in high school and, like, locked in and, like, gotten a math tutor and just, like, chosen a career in STEM, something that was a little bit more reliable, something that, I don't know, the STEM landscape is also kind of changing because I feel like technology is just, like, advancing very rapidly, just, like, in general now. So it's like, is any career safe? Like, I feel like all aspects of life in general are just, like, being affected, I would argue, adversely, but we already know my stance on AI. I mean, literally the first episode of this podcast, the very first episode, is called Getting Replaced by AI, where I talk about a conversation that I had with, which I'm pretty sure I talk about it, otherwise that'd be weird, but I talk about a conversation that I had with my supervisor at my job that was still very new at the time about, the potentials of getting replaced by AI, so it's like, I feel like at this point you should know how I feel about it, but it's like, is any career safe, And the answer is I don't know, because I feel like, we literally had a huge strike, actors and writers on strike going against AI, and I feel like some victories were had in that regard, but also not at the same time. How much longer is it going to be? Well, I mean, it's already kind of happening now, but how much longer is it going to be before these big studios just ditch the screenwriter altogether and just opt for, a prompter, someone who just thinks up a premise and types it into an AI large language model, and then it spits out a 90-minute or however long script, and they just, cut out the middleman altogether, which I don't like that, because like I said earlier, I feel like scripts are in themselves a form of literature. Whether or not people feel that way, I'm not really sure, but I kind of see them that way. I enjoy writing in screenplay format versus, like, prose format. Like, I feel like it suits my storytelling better than prose format, to be completely honest. And so it's like, that's all well and good, but the thing about screenplays is that they are sort of meant to be shot, so it's like, I have them written, but unless, I get them made, they're sort of kind of useless. Whereas if I type up a whole manuscript, I mean, I could do something with that. That could be the thing. I almost said that could be the product, but, viewing storytelling as a product is depressing. It's depressing, straight up. So it's like, I don't know, man. There have been, some changes at work, and I mean, they're not huge changes, like, at all. They're not very huge at all. But it sort of does have me thinking, like, okay, like I said at the top of the episode, like, I was gonna give Jackson 2 good years, and after those 2 years, I gotta figure out what's going on, and I've given this job 2 good years. This February is 2 good years, and I feel like I could do more than 2 years. Obviously, I'm not really in a hurry to go anywhere, but it's like, at what point is me switching careers going to be my decision, or when is that decision going to be taken away from me? Like, I have to switch careers because I have no choice, and if I do that, what am I going to do? Where am I going to go? Because, I was thinking about this, and it's like, I have no plan B. Like, I have no backup career. Like, if this doesn't work out, I mean, obviously there are other jobs that I could do, but I'm not talking about jobs. I'm talking about careers. I don't really know what I would be doing if I wasn't doing what I'm doing now, and that's kind of the scary part. That's where the uncertainty and, like, the fear kind of comes in, It's like, I don't know what I would do if I couldn't do this, And that, I'm not gonna lie, that is a problem. Like, maybe that is something that I do really need to figure out, because, like I said, I don't have a plan B. I don't have a backup plan. Like, I'm putting all of my eggs in this basket. All of my chips are in. So it's like, if all of my eggs break and if I lose this hand, I'm kind of just out of luck, And something that happened a couple of weeks ago is that my supervisor asked us, she posed a question to us, and she basically said, if we could use AI to make our jobs easier, how would we do that? And I saw that question, and, like I said a little bit earlier, my very first episode on this podcast is me talking about how I had this conversation with my supervisor 2 years ago at this point, about my concerns with AI creeping into what we do. So, being that she was looking for, our opinions, I decided, okay, I'll give you my opinion. And I wrote out this whole long email that I want to read out to you all. I have gotten permission to read this, by the way. Let me just log in. It's my work email. Hold up. Is that my password? No. Hold on. Hold on. Is that it? No. God dang it. Okay. I'm just gonna have to go on my phone because I can't remember anything. Like my friggin' password. They make us change passwords so much. It's kind of crazy, but also understandable because, safety. Oh god, I don't have the stupid Outlook app on my phone because I don't want evil in my life, but let me see if I can find it. Why? Hold on. I did really want to read this. Hold on. I did really want to read this email. Gosh darn it. Okay, hold on. I know where I can get it. Give me a secundo. I should just be logged in. If I'm not, okay. Bear with me. This is important, by the way. So, let me log into my work email after hours. Blah, blah, blah. I should be able to find it a little bit easier this way. Because, I'm logged into my work email on, the Gmail app on my phone, but, it's not, it doesn't work for whatever reason. Okay, let me search. This is probably not gonna, here we go. Okay, so the question that was posed was, if you could use AI to make your job easier, as, your job title, what would you want it to do? And so I said, I want to give this a thought-out response. The short answer is nothing, but I'll break it down. So, writing. I am a writer. To me, it seems both silly and unethical to outsource this process to large language models that are trained on data that may or may not have been acquired with the permission of the author, because that is how large language models are trained. ChatGPT is trained on stolen work. To me, it's just plagiarism. This step isn't something that takes me a tremendous amount of time anyways. Others may disagree. That's okay. We have our strengths and weaknesses. Because I hit reply all on this one because I needed the people to know. Let me see. Others may... Where am I? Okay. We have our strengths and weaknesses. Even if I am just earth-shatteringly bad at writing, AI isn't going to make me better. It'll just make me okay with being bad at something. That is not a state of mind I want to adopt, especially as someone who, for a very long time, and still even now, wants that to be something I am known for. Shooting. To my knowledge, this isn't something that can be aided by AI. Scheduling shoots? Maybe, but I don't schedule enough shoots to have to have to outsource that to AI. Is AI going to improve my shot composition, my lighting setups, give me advice on how to best shoot something? Maybe, but my teammates could also help me with those things and vice versa. Can AI fix wonky focus or cut out some headroom from a shot in post? Sure, but like I said with writing, AI isn't going to make me better. It's just going to make me okay with being bad at something. Why get it right at a shoot when I could just use AI to fix it in post? What is the point of trying anymore in that case? Editing. This step does introduce some tedium. What do you want to do when you have so much footage to ingest and organize, so many different takes, and you don't know which one is the good one? That is when you introduce a shot log. Yes, that will require some additional mental work on shoots, but it streamlines the editing process. Have there been times where I've wanted a really specific text template or stock footage or piece of music to use in a spot? Yes, all the time actually. But going back to my point on writing, these generative models are trained on other people's intellectual property most of the time without permission. OpenAI, the creators of ChatGPT, have admitted themselves that if they were not able to steal the work of others, their models would have nothing to train on. This is true. It's an ethical issue. And yes, some models have gotten pretty good at making facsimiles of stock footage and music, and to the untrained eyes and ears of our viewers and clients, seems just fine, but a lot of it still lands in this weird, uncanny valley of being recognizable but fake. We get a lot of footage and pictures from clients that are exactly 1 pixel big, which is frustrating, but AI upscaling also falls into the weird, uncanny valley for me as well. By the way, perfect example. I was on Instagram.com, as I am wont to do, and a band from Minneapolis called Careful Gaze, which has been here in Jackson a couple of times now. They're on tour, short tour up in the, that area of the country, and one of the venues, and this trips me way out, I have to find it, one of the venues, for whatever reason, no reason, used AI to, I don't know how even, it was so ridiculous, it was hilarious to me. But use AI to... Okay, so this post from 23 hours ago, so it's almost gone now, on their Instagram stories. Venue made this AI version of our promo pic for some reason for their own show flyer tonight. And on the top, it's it looks sort of like the members of the band, but you have the original on the bottom, and it's just so, that's the real picture, and you look back and it's who are these people? On the one hand, it's hilarious to me, but on the other hand, it's oh god, please hold on, there, on the one hand, it's yeah, that's hilarious, but on the other hand, it's why would you even do that? What is why? Just ask for the picture. Just DM them and be hey, can you send us this picture so we can put it on our flyer? You don't even have to do all of that. This is maximum laziness for no reason. And that's what gets me a lot of the time too. And I don't know if I've actually started beef, but it was kind of a thing for a while where I noticed that, there was a venue here that was using AI for their show flyers, and it was very noticeable, and it's why would you do that? It looks bad, and it's making your business look bad, and it's if you use AI for show posters, I think you're corny. I do. I'm not sorry about it. I think you're corny. Yeah, how hard is it to just you don't even have to go all out. There are some very artfully made show posters out there in this world of DIY music that we're in, but a screenshot of the Notes app gets the job done just as fine. Show posters are their own art form in themselves, but also if you're just not artful, it's fine. All I want to know is who, what, where, when. Really, and if you convey that, then that's okay. You don't have to go all out. But you also don't have to use AI, is my thing as well. So it's I have ranted about this so many times. I feel people should know my stance on this, but whatever. Where am I? Yeah, okay, so for daily tasks, I genuinely don't know what AI can be useful for in this scenario. Answering emails, volume emails that I get that I have to actually respond to doesn't necessitate that. I know I can't really stop anyone from using AI except for myself. That's whatever. In earnest, I've never been much of an environmentalist, but after seeing Elon Musk's XAI facility in Memphis blasting methane into the atmosphere like a power plant, it's been cemented to me just how harmful this stuff is. Is this a weird hill to die on? Maybe. Could AI save me some time? Probably. But at what cost? It has become apparent that I've hitched my wagon to a field that some people genuinely believe can be done better by a machine. My future feels uncertain. Maybe I should have chosen a STEM degree. Unfortunately for me, I'm better at stringing words together than I am at algebra. I know exactly what I sound like. A Luddite, fearful of change and progress, storming into print shops to smash up Gutenberg's printing presses because my artful hand lettering has been made redundant. For now, I'm okay with that. Do you know what I wish I could use AI to do? My dishes, my laundry, vacuum my floors, clean my bathtub, all the menial tasks that suck up my free time that I could be using to read books written by humans, or hang out with my friends, or be creative, or write diatribes about AI. Creation is joy, creation is human. Why outsource that to a machine? If we can't create, what are we left to do? Dishes, laundry, bathtubs? What life is that? Where is the joy? And this last paragraph is about company stuff, so I won't talk, let me see. The last paragraph is company stuff, so never mind. We'll leave that there. So yeah, that is, this has been on my mind for the last 2 years, honestly. And it feels inescapable, and I don't know what to do about it, and it's making me very nervous for my own future, and I don't know how much longer I can just smile through it all without completely breaking down, but thankfully I have therapy tomorrow, so hopefully I can find some coping strategies to deal with all of this, because at present I have none, and that's not good, so I need to fix that. Yeah. This is, goodness, hold on, we're gonna see if this is the longest one. I'm about to find out. I'm about to find out. Hold on. We're gonna see. It probably is now that I'm stalling. Go back. Nope. This is now the longest episode of the podcast that I've ever done. So fun. Yay. Thanks for sticking around for nearly 2.5 hours. If you had to listen to this in shifts, I understand. But goodness, it's 9 o'clock. I started recording this when I was like maybe 7. So it's fully time for me to go to bed. But yeah, this has been the 51st episode of the Runnin My Mouth podcast. I have been your host, Erin. Thank you so much for allowing me to run my mouth. Follow me on Instagram, because if you're not following me on Instagram, you're only getting half the story. And that'll be it for now. And yeah, thanks for listening to me yap for almost 2.5 hours. If you have made it this far, my mouth is dry, I'm phlegmy, and I'm thirsty. So I'm gonna go fix that.